All right, let's jump right into this. Today, we're digging into a really fascinating paradox. It's this idea of a blind man who could see, while the people with perfect vision were, well, totally blind. How does that even work? So, where are we getting this from? We're looking at a pretty deep theological commentary. And what we're going to do is pull apart its analysis of three key people to really get to the heart of this incredible story about faith, fear, and what it actually means to see. And this all boils down to the one big question we're trying to answer today. A question that totally flips what you think you know about sight and blindness on its head. How could a blind beggar see something that the religious experts, the people who are supposed to know everything, completely missed? Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about the blind man who sees. Then we'll flip it and look at the leaders who are blind. After that, we meet this mysterious secret visitor. We'll unpack this idea of living water, and we'll wrap it all up with one last question for you about vision. All right, first up, Bartimaeus. He's this blind man, and honestly, he is the absolute key to unlocking this whole idea of spiritual sight. So picture this, right? Jesus is walking by. There's a big crowd, and they're all telling Bartimaeus, hey, be quiet. But what does he do? He shouts even louder. There's zero hesitation. He's not asking for credentials or proof. The commentary we're looking at points to this as just pure, immediate, raw faith. He's seen something with a kind of clarity that his physical eyes could never, ever give him. Okay, now let's do a complete 180. We're going to look at the religious experts. I mean, these guys had everything Bartimaeus didn't, right? They had sight, they had all the knowledge, they had the power. And yet, the commentary makes this incredible argument that they were the ones who were truly blind. So you got to ask, what was blinding them? Well, the analysis points to a few things. For one, they were just so stuck in their traditions that anything new felt like a major threat. They were also scared of losing their authority and, worried about what the Romans might do. That's a pretty human thing, right? Protecting what you have. But the biggest reason of all, they just couldn't see their own spiritual need. They had no idea they were thirsty. And this right here just lays out the contrast so perfectly. Look at this. On one side, you've got Bartimaeus, who literally throws off his cloak, probably his only possession, and just follows immediately. On the other side, the leaders. They're defending tradition, questioning authority, and rejecting this amazing new thing happening right in front of their faces. It's just, wow, two totally different responses. And that's really the tragedy at the heart of it all. This quote from our source just nails it. Think about that. The very thing that was supposed to give them insight, their expertise, is what ended up blinding them. They were so focused on the rule book, they completely, totally missed the point. But it wasn't just these two polar opposites. The commentary brings in a third character, and he's super fascinating. His name is Nicodemus. Now, he's a religious leader too, but he's different. He's sort of this middle ground, this bridge between that instant radical faith and a hard no. And the source highlights this really crucial detail. Nicodemus comes to Jesus by night. Why? Well, as a big shot on the ruling council, he couldn't afford to be seen questioning the system. That secret visit says it all, doesn't it? It's a symbol of his inner struggle. He's genuinely seeking answers, but he's also terrified of losing his reputation, his power, everything he's worked for. And this is what makes him feel so relatable, Nicodemus is stuck. He's got all these deep intellectual questions swimming in his head, but he just can't bring himself to make that same leap of faith that Bartimaeus did. He's caught right between his head and his heart. His story is all about that slow, messy, difficult journey from just thinking about something to actually being transformed by it. So what was the secret sauce? What did Bartimaeus get that the leaders completely missed? The commentary says it all comes down to one central idea: living water. And believe me, this concept is the absolute key to understanding this whole thing. Okay, so the term used in the texts is the Korean word sangsu, which translates to living water. But this isn't just a nice metaphor for being refreshed. No, the commentary defines it as something much deeper, a dynamic, internal source of spiritual life that flows straight from God. It's the only thing that can quench that deep down thirst that no amount of rules, rituals, or book smarts can ever satisfy. So the big question is, how do you get this living water? Well, the text actually lays it out in a pretty simple 3-step path. Step 1, recognize that you're thirsty, just like Bartimaeus did. You have to admit you have a need. Step 2, come to the source. And step 3, drink, which means you have to actively receive this new life that's being offered. And this is the really crucial part. This isn't about memorizing a new checklist or following a new set of rules. Not at all. It's about a fundamental transformation from the inside out. This is the very thing the leaders, with all their rule books, just couldn't get their heads around. And it's what Bartimaeus just knew, instinctively. Okay, let's pull all these threads together. What this analysis really gives us is 3 totally different characters, who in turn represent 3 profoundly different ways of seeing the world. And this table just lays it all out so clearly. You've got Bartimaeus, who sees with his heart. That's pure, radical faith. Then you have the leaders, who only see with the law. That's that rigid, unbending dogma. And finally, there's Nicodemus, seeing with his mind. He's that honest seeker, but he's also kind of stuck, that fearful middle ground. So, after all that, the analysis leaves us with a pretty provocative question. It's a question for all of us, really. It asks us to think about the lens we're using to look at the world. Are we seeing with a heart that's open and ready, like Bartimaeus? Or with a mind that's clinging to the old ways, like the leaders? Or maybe we're more like Nicodemus, cautiously searching in the dark, trying to figure it all out. Which vision is yours?